Welcome back to the Flushing Faithful podcast. As you know, opening day is upon us. Now, during the spring, I was planning several podcasts, but the Mets were boring. There was nothing happening. Todd Frazier went down with an injury and Jed Lowry, but besides that, they were dead boring. Oh, and of course the drama with Jacob deGrom. You know what? Let's start there. He got his contract. It's actually the same exact numbers that I was saying, except one less year. Because I was thinking 17 this year, 20 next year, and then 5 years at 20 each. He got more money in a shorter term. Plus, there's an option which makes the 6 year, I believe, $30 million. I don't have the exact number, but the contract can max out at $170 million. So, $137 million. Jacob deGrom is still around for 5 years. What I would have tried to do is a little good faith. Try to extend some of the other players and then drop the Jacob deGrom contract. But, there's one thing that no one has really mentioned. David Wright was a big part of that contract deal. So, David Wright may be upper management material. Always thought he was, but I thought he was more of not a GM, but basically what he's doing now. He's really an assistant to the GM. I wasn't sure if he had the full GM possibility, but you don't want to bring a guy like David Wright in as your GM. Because, as you know, in baseball, when you're hired, there's an expiration date. And no one would be happy about seeing David Wright get fired by the Mets. But I would have looked at Syndergaard, Conforto, and others. Conforto's interesting because his agent is Scott Boras, who does not like to do free agent deals. And if he does, they're going to be big deals. So Conforto's most likely going to go in, try to have another big year, and then try to make bank off that. Syndergaard is another who is in the same situation. I probably would have tried to sign him for one of those deals like Aaron Nola got, or Severino. Maybe a little more, but not much more, and see if he wants to sign that deal. He might not. He might be waiting for the big money. But as you know, the Mets already have one pitcher at that money. They're most likely not going to have two. Which also brings us to Zach Wheeler. You most likely should have talked to him during the winter. Because if he starts off having a great season again, he may not sign. He may go free agent. He has said he's not doing the hometown discount. So, yeah, the Mets may have an issue with pitching moving forward. As of this year, they look good. What else has happened? Peter Alonso made the team. Pete Alonso, I forgot. He dropped the R. But so did Dom Smith. This is an interesting situation since there's no DH in the NL. Not yet, anyway. I don't know. I don't want to say they got lucky with both third basemen going down, but Jeff McNeil can move over to third base instead of left field, so Dom Smith can be in the outfield. And supposedly we have a new Dom Smith now that he figured out he had sleep apnea. Wow, I'm saying a lot this time. I don't know why. I'll figure that out. But Alonso and Smith it just doesn't work when both are there and then the Mets are overloaded in the field. They'll figure it out, but I would have had Alonso taking outfield practice or whatever, reps or whatever you want to call it at this point, just so he has another position just in case. But they're going to go with what they have for now. Alonso's at first base. It's nice that he's getting his chance and they're not keeping him in the minors, but I have a feeling he will go down so that Dom Smith is at first when the 2 third basemen come back. Because obviously, if you had 2 third basemen, what are you going to do? And both Dom Smith and Alonso have options. What else is it? Oh, Robinson Cano. How can I forget him? I have a feeling he may be in the running for MVP this year. Why? Because he's a good player. He has been productive his whole career. One thing that he's been doing for the Mets is hitting to the opposite field, and other Mets are paying attention. This team may be moving away from the stupid home run or strikeout theory, which is great. Chili Davis is also working on getting them to hit to the opposite field, so you have that too. And the outfield's pretty much set. It's Michael Conforto, Brandon Nimmo, and, well, Jeff McNeil when the third basemen come back. Before that, you have Keon Broxton and Juan Lagares, who he's still iffy because he could possibly be traded at any time if a team needs an outfielder of his caliber. And with the Diamondbacks losing Souza, I'm surprised that I haven't heard that he's being traded to the Diamondbacks. So, as of right now, the field's pretty much set. The pitching is pretty much set. I mean, there were no surprises in terms of who made the team. Well, there was one, Mesoraco, who I figured would have made the team as Jacob deGrom's personal catcher, but these days you can't do that because the roster crunch, you can't carry 3 catchers. And even if they carry 2, Travis d'Arnaud, I guess they think he's ready. I would have left him in Florida, keep him in extended spring training, and go from there. But I guess they feel he's ready. He's going to be the backup catcher. And as a hitter, he is a better hitter. It's just that he can't stay on the field. But Mesoraco doesn't want to be sitting on the bench. He doesn't want to go to the minors. He just wants to be in the majors, which is his right, but he's most likely going to another team or something, because he even said he wouldn't take the assignment, he might retire. Now, as you know, most players don't want to retire just because of something like that, but you never know. The Mets do have Thomas Nido. They also have Rene Rivera back in the system. So there's plenty of catchers. Whether Mesoraco ends up being one of them is another question. And off of Jacob deGrom's year last year, I probably would have kept him around as his caddy, but the roster cannot carry 3 players. One thing they could have done is get d'Arnaud reps in another position, which he's capable of doing. But again, he's coming off an injury, so you don't really want to do too much of that. Maybe during the year you might see him at first base. He may go to the outfield. I heard he can actually work in the infield too. I'm assuming third base, which they did play him at last year. So he's an interesting player. Besides that, it's opening day. Time to get it started once again. Jacob deGrom's on the mound against Max Scherzer. Can never say that name right. The Nationals are listed as the favorite as of now, but I think the Mets are going to pull this one off. They are the team with the best record on opening day, percentage-wise. So I guess we'll see what happens. People are thinking Noah Syndergaard may be the Cy Young, which would be nice. Jacob deGrom, it's going to be hard to match the year he had. Zach Wheeler, if he puts on another performance like he did last year, then the Mets are winning this division. Of course, injuries and whatever could derail that, but we'll see what happens. So, hey, hopefully you're home to watch opening day or you're out at Citi Field watching the game. This is Flushing Faithful Podcast signing off.